Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. Today we're dive into A Retrieved Reformation, a classic short story by O. Henry. So at the first time I read this title, I don't really understand about what does it mean. It's really complicated. But it's actually a powerful message. So retrieved, this word, means something that's taken back or recovered, while reformation means a deep change for the better, like someone turning their life around. So the title suggests a transformation that rediscovered, a second chance at becoming a better person. It is a story about redemption, love, and mercy. Let's explore how this reformation is not just retrieved, but truly earned. So here are some topics that we want to talk in this video. The first we're going to know about who in the world of Jimmy's Valentine, or the cast, and the next is about the plot of the story, and we want to know about the narrative perspective, and also we're going to explore the settings or the place of the story where happened, and the last is modes of presentation by the writer. So the first, let's we talk about the character or the cast. So there are two types of characters. The first is round characters and the second is flat characters. So what does it mean? So round characters. These characters are complex, show emotional depth and experience change throughout the story. Like Jamie Valentine and Ben Priss. Jimmy is the protagonist. He starts as a skilled criminal but changes after falling in love with Annabelle. His decision, alright, this is Annabelle, and his decision to save a child, even if it means revealing his past, showing his growth and moral transformation. And the next is second character, Ben Priss, the detective who tracks Jimmy. At first he represents law and justice, but in the end he chooses mercy over punishment. His decisions to let Jimmy go shows that he understands Jimmy's change, making him a morally thoughtful character. So the next is the flat characters. So these are simple, do not change, and mainly support the plot. Like Annabelle Adams, Jimmy's love interest. She is kind and gentle, but her role is mostly to inspire Jimmy's transformation. She doesn't undergo any personal change in the story. And the next is Mr. Adams, Annabelle's father, and the owner of Elmore Bank. He is a supportive figure but remains the same throughout the story. The next is Mike Dolan. So he is Jimmy's old friend who helps him after prison. He appears briefly and doesn't change. So the next is the warden. He gives Jimmy advice while releasing him from prison, but his role is limited and static. So the last is Agatha and May. So these girls are Annabelle's niece. Agatha is the child who gets locked in the vault, triggering Jimmy's heroic act. May accidentally locks her in. So this character accidentally locks Agatha inside of the vault. So both of these, Agatha and May, are minor characters who help move the plot forward. So simply, round characters like Jimmy's and Ben Prince show change and emotional depth, while flat characters like Annabelle, Mr. Adams, and the other's character like helping support the story but don't change. So that's all for the characters. So the next, let's we talk about plot illustration and summary. So I think I need to close this camera to make sure I can explain you guys in a full screen way. I don't know how to say it, but just let but just take a look to this. Okay, so I'm going to giving you some illustration about how the plot story the story happened. So we know that Jimmy Valentine is as the main character of this story. Jimmy Valentine is a skilled safecracker who's just been released from prison. Okay? And he goes back to robbing banks until he arrives in Elmore, a small town, and meets Annabelle. So he falls in love and decides to change his life. He becomes Ralph D. Spencer to change his identity. So because he don't want to be as a criminal again, so he just want to be a better guy. So that's why he changed his identity to like changing his name, and he is becoming a respectable shoe store owner. But one day, a child named Agatha gets locked in a bank vault. And this guy, the main character Jimmy, must use his old skills or cracking the vault to save her. Yeah, to save Agatha. And he risks everything, like her identity at first, because we know that he want to be a better guy by not showing that he can crack the vault, but he must doing because he want to save life for one of this human. I get that. And then a detective, Ben Priss, sees all this story here, and Ben Priss lets Jimmy Valentine go because he believing that he's truly reformed. So I think that's the plot summary and illustration for this story. The next, let's talk about narrative perspective. So I got some source from lifeabout.com, and from this source, it mentioned that third-person omniscience point of view. The first is brings to life and develops an entire world of characters. The second is relates information about each character that the character might not know about each other. And the last is useful for introducing the reader to a plethora of character. So the point is, the story is told by a third-person omniscient narrator. That means the narrator knows everything, like Jimmy's thoughts, actions, and even what Ben Priss is thinking. It's not told by Jimmy or any character inside the story. So the next, let's talk about the settings or the place where the story it happened. So the events take place in early 20th century Arkansas, mostly in the town of Elmore. It is a quiet place that symbolizes a fresh start, a perfect setting for Jimmy's transformation. So the first setting that I got, as you guys can see here, there are narration example and also dialogue. I mean, this is as a code where I found the place. So the first place I got is prison or police department office. The second is planner's huddle in Elmore, and the third is Elmore town. The fourth is Elmore bank. Where you guys can read the narrations or the dialogue. Okay, so let's get into the next slide. The fifth place is from the gardens. Why did I mention garden? Because these statements, disregarding the songs of the bird, the waving green trees, and the smell of the flowers. Maybe this is like in the middle of the town that has flowers or green teas, but still I'm thinking that these places maybe will be taking in the garden. And also Jimmy's headed straight for the restaurant, so that's why I made this as the place for the setting. And the next is train station, and the 7 is cafe, the 8 is city. So let's get into the next slide. Still same talking about the place. So the 9 is drugstore, and the 10 is Adam's family's house. So I think just that's all for the setting. And the next is we talk about modes of presentation. So O. Henry uses most narration to tell the story with some dialogue to show emotions and key moments. From here, we know that O. Henry mostly or dominantly using narration instead of dialogue. So, like this, the red one, the pink one, like this, narration and dialogue, or like a direct sentence using like a code like this. Yes. And I think that's it. So I think that's all I can talk about this story. Well, I'm going to discuss something about my personal opinion while reading this story. So, to really understand the story, A Retrieve Reformation, I had to take a different approach. Like, how? I mean, there are so many new words I hadn't seen before, and the sentences were quite complex. So, I decided to copy each paragraph and translate it in sentence by sentence into Indonesian. Wait. This helped me understand not just the meaning of the words, but also exciting because I was learning new vocabulary and improving my reading skills at the same time. And this helped me understand not just the meaning of the words, but also how the story flows. Because honestly, it's like a C2 story level. Wait. Well, the turning points of this story is Jimmy sees Annabelle for the first time and something inside him changes. So this is the code, the source. Oh yeah, as you guys can see here, I learned a lot of new words like Raju catchers. I don't know what that means. Delighted, puzzle tones, or nada bingung, and all the new verbs or noun. Color buttoned, back agains. Yeah, a lot of new words I learned from this story. All right, so sorry, I want to mention you about the points of this story. The peak of happy moments. So a young lady crossed the street past him at the corner and entered a door over which was the sign The Elmore Bank. Jimmy Valentine looked into her eyes, forgot what he was, and became another man. So, like, Jimmy sees Annabelle for the first time and something inside him changes. He forgets his past as a criminal and starts to imagine a new life. This is a good change, right? So I think from this story, it's not just love, it's a moment where he decides to become a better person. So in conclusions, A Retrieve Reformation shows us that people can change and sometimes mercy is more powerful than justice. As I read A Retrieve Reformations, I found myself not only drawn into the story, but also discovering so many new words I had never encountered before. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe for many literacy insight. Yeah, this is my first content for making this video actually. And see you guys. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.